I was supposed to be married last Saturday. Right now, I should be waking up to the sound of waves crashing along the Amalfi Coast. I should be sipping wine on a terrace in Positano, sun on my skin, a wedding ring on my finger, one he saved for months to afford. I should be Mrs. Ethan Carter. But instead, I'm back in my old apartment, the one-bedroom unit I swore I'd leave behind for good. The air smells stale, like dust and disappointment. Half-packed boxes line the hallway. My wedding dress still hangs on the back of the bedroom door like a cruel joke. And the unopened gifts. They sit like landmines, each one a reminder of what was supposed to be. People keep texting, friends, family, even the florist. Thinking of you. Call me if you need anything. But I can't call anyone. Because I don't even know how to explain what happened. Ethan was good. Kind, dependable, patient in a way that made people trust him instantly. He wasn't dramatic or flashy. He was warm, safe, even. We met at a grief support fundraiser, of all places. I was 3 years into widowhood, wearing my pain like a shield. He was there on behalf of his company's charity initiative. I don't remember what we said exactly, but I remember laughing. That was rare for me back then. I told him about Daniel early on. I didn't hide anything. I said it plainly, he'll always be a part of me. And Ethan, he didn't flinch. He looked right at me and said, I get it. I believed him. For a while, it seemed to work. I thought I could love again without erasing my past. That it was possible to carry both grief and hope in the same heart. Ethan made me believe in that. He was gentle, never pushed me to move on or forget. But now I sit here, unmarried and embarrassed. And the worst part? I honestly don't know if it was all my fault. Daniel was the kind of man who made the world feel bigger. He never followed the rules, never used a turn signal, always ordered dessert, even when we were already full. He danced in grocery store aisles, made stupid bets, told inappropriate jokes at dinner, and kissed me like he was trying to memorize my face. And then one night, he didn't come home. The crash was quick, they said. He likely didn't feel a thing. As if that made it better. What followed was a kind of silence I didn't know existed. Not just the absence of his voice, but of color, of direction. For 2 years, I didn't live, I just existed. Waking up took effort. Laughing felt like betrayal. The world kept moving, and I stayed exactly where he left me. Then came Ethan. He wasn't like Daniel. At all. Where Daniel was chaos, Ethan was calm. Steady. Predictable in the best possible way. The kind of man who read instructions before assembling furniture, who didn't just ask how my day was, he listened. Really listened. I didn't expect to fall for him. Honestly, I felt guilty even liking someone else. But love doesn't always crash in like a wave. Sometimes it creeps in quietly, reshaping your life piece by piece until one day you wake up and realize, you've started breathing again. Still, I carried Daniel with me. In stories. In habits. In the photo I kept on my nightstand. Ethan never asked me to take it down. Never once. But I saw the way his eyes lingered on it. Especially at night. There were moments, tiny cracks that widened over time. At a holiday dinner with his family, I accidentally called Ethan Daniel. I tried to laugh it off, but the way his mother raised her eyebrows. I still feel the heat of that humiliation. During arguments, especially when I felt cornered, I'd lash out and say things like, Daniel would never treat me like this. As if Ethan was constantly being measured against a ghost. And through it all, he stayed. Quietly. Kindly. Until one night, after a particularly heavy silence, he looked at me and said, almost in a whisper, I just hope someday I can be your present, not just a visitor in your past. I didn't answer him, because deep down, I wasn't sure I could ever let Daniel go. It happened 2 weeks before the wedding. We were in our final premarital counseling session, sitting side by side on that stiff beige couch, the scent of lavender diffusers floating around the room like some kind of peace offering. Ethan had his hands folded neatly in his lap. I was fidgeting with my ring finger, turning it, as if I could already feel the weight of the wedding band. The therapist, a gentle woman named Janet with kind eyes and too many degrees on her wall, smiled and asked us a question that made my stomach flip. Do you both feel like you've fully let go of past relationships in order to begin this new chapter together? I didn't even hesitate. I said it calmly, almost proudly. My dead husband will always be a part of me. The room shifted. I felt Ethan freeze beside me. I turned to him, half expecting a supportive smile or a squeeze of my hand, like he always gave me when things got heavy. But there was nothing. No smile. No squeeze. Just a tightening jaw. Eyes fixed ahead. Silence stretching like a wire between us. Janet cleared her throat, clearly picking up on the tension. But the session ended without further explosions. Ethan stood up, said thank you politely, and walked me to the car in silence. That night, he didn't come to bed. I heard the creak of the couch cushions and the low hum of the TV in the living room. I stared at the ceiling for hours, arms crossed tightly over my chest, refusing to be the first to break. The next morning, I woke up to find his side of the closet half empty. His suits were gone. His cologne. The watch I gave him for his birthday. No note. No goodbye. Just silence. Again. 3 days later, a letter arrived. No return address. Just my name on the front in his careful handwriting. I read it while standing barefoot in the kitchen, still wearing the sweatshirt he left behind. Claire, you deserve someone who can share your heart. I was only ever renting space in yours. I thought I could live with that. I was wrong. I'm sorry. Ethan, I dropped the letter. First came the devastation, the ache in my chest, the gasping sobs that made my ribs hurt. But then, the anger. How dare he? He knew from the beginning. I never lied. I told him about Daniel. I warned him. He agreed. So how is this my fault? The wedding was cancelled the next morning. Vendors were called. Deposits were lost. Guests were refunded. My parents, especially my mother, were furious. Not just because of the embarrassment, but because they had finally seen me happy again. Or so they thought. I didn't give many details. Just said, it's off, and let everyone fill in the blanks. The worst part. Most people assumed he had done something unforgivable. Not me. But I kept replaying that moment in counseling, the way Ethan's jaw clenched when I said Daniel would always be part of me. The silence. The quiet pain I refused to see. My friends tried to comfort me. Said things like, he couldn't handle a strong woman with a past, or you deserve someone who understands grief. But then, some of them started pausing. Hesitating before they spoke. One night over wine, my closest friend asked gently, did you ever make room for Ethan? Or was he always just, standing beside a ghost? That question haunted me more than Ethan's letter. I started therapy. Real therapy. Not just the couple sessions, but solo. Raw. Unfiltered. I brought journals with me, pages I hadn't touched in years. And for the first time, I wrote about Daniel, not just the happy memories, but the pain. The guilt. The way I'd kept him frozen in time, untouchable, perfect. Like a museum exhibit in my heart. I realized I hadn't grieved, I had preserved. And in doing so, I made Ethan a visitor. A guest. Someone who could never touch the sacred ground I reserved for my past. A few weeks later, I visited Daniel's mother. I brought a small box of old things, photos, letters, mementos I no longer felt right keeping. She looked at me with a softness I didn't deserve and said, "You know, Daniel would have wanted you to move on, not worship his memory." I don't know why, but that shattered me. Not the letter. Not the breakup. Not even the cancelled wedding. But that. The idea that I'd used Daniel's love as a shield. That I'd mistaken preservation for loyalty. That maybe I'd made a shrine out of sorrow and called it love. It happened while I was packing up what was supposed to be our apartment. I was going through drawers, clearing out the life I never fully let Ethan into, when I found it, his final message. An email. Unsent, but saved in a drafts folder I never bothered to check. The subject line was blank. The timestamp. The night after the therapy session. The night he slept on the couch. I clicked it open with shaking hands. "Claire, I don't resent you. I want you to know that first. I loved you with everything I had. I knew about Daniel. I respected that part of your life. But love isn't just about honoring the past, it's about building the present. And I think I realized. I was never building anything with you. I was decorating a room I was never allowed to live in. You don't owe me anything. But I owe myself someone who chooses me without comparing me to a memory I can't compete with. Be well. Be free." Ethan I read it 3 times before I let myself cry. All the pieces I'd refused to look at started fitting together in painful, perfect clarity. I didn't love Ethan the way he deserved. I wanted to, I told myself I did. But I compared him to Daniel constantly. I projected my fears onto him, punished him silently every time he didn't react like Daniel would have. I told myself I was being honest about my past, but the truth is, I never offered Ethan a future. Grief wasn't the issue anymore. Identity was. Being Daniel's widow had become the core of who I was. It had given me meaning when I felt hollow. It made people tread gently. It became my safe place. And in that space, there was no room for Ethan. I remembered a night, maybe a year into our relationship. We were curled up on the couch, and I was telling a story about Daniel. I laughed, tears in my eyes, and said, "That was the best day of my life." Ethan smiled at the time. But later, I heard him in the bathroom. Crying. Silently, so I wouldn't hear. Except I did. And I ignored it. I told myself he was being sensitive. That he knew what he signed up for. But now I see the truth. He didn't sign up to be second best. He signed up hoping, foolishly, that one day, he'd be enough. I never saw myself as the villain. But maybe I was. Now, I'm moving to a new city. A smaller apartment. No Ethan. No ring. No countdown to a wedding day that never came. Just me, a few boxes, and a fresh lease signed under a name that hasn't changed. The space feels quiet, but not in the hollow way it used to after Daniel died. This quiet feels clean, like a page waiting to be written on, not one that's already been closed. I packed Daniel's photo last. It used to live on my nightstand, always within reach. Now, it's in a box marked Memories, alongside a few old birthday cards and the watch he left behind. I didn't throw them out. I don't think I ever could. But I don't need them out in the open anymore either. For the first time in a long time, I'm not trying to prove I remember him. I know I do. I always will. But I don't have to keep living like I owe him the rest of my life. I've started journaling again, not just about Daniel, but about myself. Who I was before him. Who I might still be. I even found a therapist in the new city who specializes in identity after loss. And today, I wrote something I'll never send. It was a letter to Ethan. You were never second place. You were never a substitute. I just didn't know how to open the door wide enough. I thought I was loving honestly by keeping Daniel with me, but I see now, I was holding on so tightly, there was no room for anyone else. I'm sorry you had to leave for me to see it. I folded the letter and placed it in the same shoebox where I now keep Daniel's things. That box doesn't define me anymore. It's just part of the story. Sometimes, I look in the mirror and wonder, do we ever fully let go of the people we love? Or do we just learn to carry them more gently, with open hands instead of clenched fists? I told Ethan my dead husband would always be part of me. But I never realized how much of me I'd closed off to love again. Maybe next time, I'll leave the door open.